Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions, as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is well. Now, this is another edition of the Daily Tottenham Transfer News Show. My name is Chris Cowlin, and this morning I'll be joined by Craig Dearman as we'll be covering all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. At the time of recording, it is day 10 of the January transfer window, 23 days left of this January transfer window. Of course, it closes on the 2nd of Feb at 7 p.m. Now, make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. We are also live on X and Facebook, but do press that like button on YouTube, comment below, and turn on that notification bell so YouTube informs you every single time we upload a video and go live. Craig, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. Yes, not too bad, not too bad. Looking forward to the game later on today. So, I think that's the right word, isn't it? Looking forward to it. I think you should be looking forward to it.
35 years now since Spurs won the FA Cup. Yeah, it's a long time. Right, let's get into the transfers. Craig, yesterday, Fabrizio Romano gave us the Here We Go. Sousa, Here We Go to Tottenham. Medical will take place on either Sunday or Monday. So it looks like Spurs do have one signing through the door. I've got to admit, though, everything that I'm going to go through today, I don't know about you, but everything I'm going to go through today, it is all about players possibly going out the door rather than links, new links, fresh reports about players coming in the door and players that we are linked with. There isn't any. Do you have any?
No. In short, no. It's
right.
Like you say, it's all about players going out.
Okay. Well, Thomas Frank said it's about sometimes selling players, and Tottenham haven't been so good at selling players. But let's talk about a few of them now. I'm going to mention this one first of all because we mentioned this yesterday on the show. Richarlison, ESPN in Brazil yesterday, said that Richarlison wants to leave Spurs after the World Cup. And Richarlison actually replied to an Instagram post and he said, "Who said that? F off." What do you make of that? Is Richarlison saying that, one, who said that because I didn't want anyone to know? Or number two, no, I'm staying at Spurs for next season. What do you make of it?
It's a funny one, isn't it? It's he's done this sort of thing before, hasn't he? He's come out and rubbish reports of him leaving and blah blah blah. It could be either. He's probably more likely that he's never said that he wants to leave. You know, that's probably what it is. And he's probably annoyed this reporter or somebody is. I think it was Brazilian report saying that he wants to go back to his homeland or wherever it may be, you know. So it's probably that, unless of course something's been leaked and like he's thinking he doesn't want anybody to know. Either way, it's out there now, so people are going to be thinking Richarlison is going to go. And as we said on the show yesterday, it feels like the right time Richarlison might move. Obviously, rumours he's going to go back to Everton. He's still got a love for that club. The fans love him up there as well. So we'll see what happens with that one. Yeah, but that was a funny one. That was a bit weird, wasn't it?
Craig, going to come on to a BBC report. Mathis Tel is open to a loan move in January. His motivation is a more prominent role to make the France World Cup squad. Now, of course, this is one that we spoke about yesterday, and various reports are stating that Tottenham are reluctant to letting Mathis Tel go out on loan. Apparently, they were open to the idea at the start of the window, and then selling Brennan Johnson, and now injuries to the likes of Mohamed Kudus. And of course, we've still got players like Kulusevski, Maddison, Solanke all out as well. I understand it from the player's point of view. If I was Mathis Tel, I'd probably want, I would want more game time under Thomas Frank, certainly in the Premier League. Would this be, let's break this down into two. Is it good for the player? It would certainly be good for the player, in my opinion, but not so good for the club.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Mathis Tel, World Cup year, he just wants to be playing football because generally, unless you're a real superstar, the national team manager is not going to pick a player that's not playing at their club. So Mathis Tel's going to want more game time. On the flip side, we need players in that forward line dropping like flies. Kudus now injured. No sign at the moment of anybody coming through the door. No sign of Solanke returning in the next few weeks, certainly. So we're very light on the ground. It would surprise me if Tel went out sort of now, perhaps at the end of the window, if we do bring somebody in or Solanke's back or whatever it may be. This deal I could see this deal sort of happening, especially if the player is pushing for it and Thomas Frank hasn't guaranteed him game time. But again, I think that's one of those that's going to be more of a slow burn. I would be shocked if Tel went out, say, next week or whatever. I think that would be utter madness, to be honest, to do that. But I think if this is going to happen, it's going to be later in the window. But I can totally see why Mathis Tel would want to move out of Spurs and get some playing time. Another player that's linked again today. This reports from the Sun. Is just basically reinforces the suggestion that Dragusin could be heading to Roma on a loan to buy deal. His Spurs career has been disrupted by injury, as we know, and his agent has hinted that Tottenham could accept an offer if it meets their criteria. So my thoughts on this, as I've said before, Dragusin is probably fourth choice centre back, but do the club see him as decent enough to have as a backup to Romero? In my opinion, if you let him go, do they bring in somebody straight away, or do they say Ben Davies is going to fill in till the summer when Vuskovic comes back and reassess the situation? I would imagine Dragusin probably wants out. He wants regular football, so it'll be interesting to see what Spurs do there, but it's got to be a right deal for the club, I guess.
Yeah, in the last 24 hours, Italian journalist and transfer expert Gianluca Damasio has stated that Roma have submitted an initial offer to Tottenham, a loan until the end of this season, and they want an option to buy. And Radu's agent, again, has spoken out, and this guy speaks out a lot for his client, I can tell you that. Speaking to Ray Sport about the situation, his agent said, "I'm waiting for Tottenham to say yes to Roma before we can get to the heart of the matter. On Fiorentina, with all due respect, it wouldn't be the right path for him. Radu has a special bond with Italy. Gladiators are happy in Rome." And other reports in Italy, Craig, are stating that Radu, from a player's perspective, he wants this move. And like you said, I'm not surprised because he has been out injured. He has gone through that recovery period of such a long time. That must be very, very tough for a player, both mentally and physically. And he wants game time. And, let's be honest and very frank and realistic about it. Is he going to get that game time under Thomas Frank from now until the end of the season? When you've spent that long out, all you want to do is get back on the pitch to what you absolutely love. It'd be interesting, actually, to see if he comes in and starts the game today. Will it be Kevin Danso, deputising for the suspended Christian Romero? So it's a very, very interesting one, what the sporting directors feel about this, what Thomas Frank feels about this. But, some of these players at the moment, all they want to do is play. And when you're not playing, you're unhappy. And the agent, I know a lot of people give this guy a lot of flack. I tell you what, if you were the player, you would love your agent, I think, coming out all the time and acting in this way. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on that one. But, yeah, I think that Radu will probably go out the door in January. I think he's had a really, really tough time and spell at Tottenham. So, yeah, let's see what happens. But I do expect him to go out the door. Craig, another one. I know you're going to mention this one as well, is about Van de Ven. Lots of reports out about this in the last 24 hours stating that Van de Ven is unhappy. All of these rumours and reports and stories all started by the Daily Telegraph stating he is unhappy. Spurs want to tie him down to a new contract, but he is unhappy with the current situation. Give Me Sport have stated that Mickey van der Ven is considering leaving Tottenham. He's earmarked Liverpool as his preferred destination. And reports in Spain, lots of reports, and I mean a lot, stating that his preferred preference, if he does leave Spurs in the summer, would be Barcelona. What do you make of this? Because I know we spoke a little bit about this yesterday, and we said, we both agreed on this, top players like Mickey van der Ven have to be key to Tottenham's success. Because I tell you what, the way Spurs are at the moment, if we lose players like Mickey van der Ven, where on earth would we be?
Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. There are so many rumours about this. Whether somebody just reports it and everybody else jumps on, we don't know. But mainly from Spain, admittedly. But Mickey van der Ven, Barcelona reported to target the Tottenham centre-back. He's said to be open to the move. It's quite clear, actually, from Mickey van der Ven's body language over the last few weeks that he's not happy. He's not happy. You could argue that a lot of our players are not happy.
Yeah,
exactly. The fans aren't happy. The manager isn't happy. The play. We know Mickey van der Ven is a passionate player. He's going to want success. He's going to want success like we had in Bilbao. Just seems such a long time ago, doesn't it? That trophy win. It's just night and day at the moment. So I think if the club sell van der Ven, the fans are going to be in absolute uproar. He is the player that we need to keep hold of, more so, I would say, than Christian Romero out the two. I mean, have we got world-class players at Spurs anymore? We've been used to them. The nearest two, I would say, is Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero. Speaks volumes in itself. I would be gutted if we let Mickey van der Ven go. I think they should be trying to tie him down to a new deal, which we know they are, but it doesn't seem like he's open to it at the moment. And to be fair, I don't blame him. Something needs to change Mickey's mind, doesn't it? That's ultimately it. The direction the club's going in, whether you're for or against a manager, has something got to change there. So something's got to change. And I think realistically today, if we do go out of the FA Cup, where does that leave us with our season? You know, we're fighting for the Champions League. We're not going to win the Premier League. So, you know, it's going to be a tough season again, but we need to show ambition to keep players like Mickey van der Ven. That's all I would say on that one. The only other thing I've got here really is another player that seems to be unhappy. This is from L'Equipe. Sports Mole mentioned as well that Antonin Kinski, French club Hawks there, are said to have approached Spurs about a 6-month loan for goalkeeper Antonin Kinski. The 22-year-old has struggled for game time at Tottenham, as we know, and could get minutes abroad, although no agreement is yet confirmed. We spoke about Kinski before. Again, another player that's going to want to get game time. I would say it's always difficult for a goalkeeper, massively difficult. You either accept that you're a number two and just play when the number one's injured, or you don't. Basically, you look for a move, and that seems like Kinski's unsettled and unhappy and wants some game time. If it's just a 6-month loan, fine, just to get some game time. And the club are going to have to decide, I suppose, whether they see Kinski as a long-term number two, or even somebody that, in my opinion, should be pressing Vicario for the number one jersey.
Yeah, I don't go along with the narrative that he is unhappy and unsettled at Spurs. I don't believe that at all. He is a young goalkeeper. He's come to Spurs. I think he knew exactly what he was coming into regarding Vicario being the number one. I think that Kinski definitely wants to have more game time. Who doesn't, Craig? Who doesn't want more game time as a footballer? You always want to be playing. Whether you're going to play Sunday League football, you want to be playing. You don't want to be a sub, do you? And at Premier League level or Champions League or whatever competition we're playing in, every single player wants to play minutes. So, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he did go out on loan in January because of lack of minutes. Is that all the reports you have?
Unfortunately, yes. I wish I could bring you news that we're signing Lionel Messi, but we're not. So that's all I've got for today.
Right. So I don't have any links, or I don't have any stories to links to players that we are bringing in right now. Either the club are keeping things extremely quiet and they're going to give us some surprises, but there certainly is no more reports at the moment. One last thing I just wanted to cover. Alex Crook on TalkSport in the last 24 hours, he has stated that Tottenham, the owners want to sell. Nothing will change under the owners, even though it is a new branded board and an ownership, if you like. They had a conversation, and I say they, Alex Crook, together with Sam Matterface and Scott Minto, and they had a really interesting discussion and said that more scrutiny needs to be put on the owners of football clubs. And we have seen recently with Maresca at Chelsea and Amorim of Manchester United, and even Christian Romero, the football people are calling out the business people, if you like, and that connection needs to change, and managers need more, and the owners and the business people need to understand that the managers need more to progress as a football club. Now, the Trust have put out a statement in the last 24 hours, and the key line here, they are stating that the club dramatically, there is a dramatic fall in ambition now under this ownership and under this board. And they are also calling for more communication from the likes of Vinar Venkatesham. Now, what I would say on this, Craig, is that, we have a fan advisory board, we have a trust. Those groups of individuals need to certainly be putting more pressure and asking more questions of the board and the direction of the football club, because all of us, like I said earlier, the players don't seem to be enjoying it at the moment. Thomas Frank has actually come out and said he is not enjoying his job at Spurs right now. The fans are certainly not enjoying it. And like you mentioned, we've got the FA Cup game later. This is a competition we haven't won in 35 years. Thomas Frank, in the embargoed press conference released last night, said that we're going to go the strongest possible. I would say on that, great sentiment, but strongest possible. We don't have a strong squad at the moment. Even if we had our players fit, we need reinforcements, and we have so many players out injured. Now, I'm going to also read, before I get your thoughts on this, I'm also going to read this tweet from Gary Lineker that has been brought up by a number of reporters in the last 24 hours as well. On the 19th of November, 2019, Gary Lineker tweeted this: Mauricio Pochettino has been sacked by Spurs. He helped the club to punch massively above their weight for years. Good luck with finding a better replacement. Ain't going to happen. Now, when you think back, Craig, to the managers that we have been through since then, and I've mentioned this on a number of shows that we've done, a number of media interviews that I've done, and I've said that Spurs have gone round in circles. We've tried to go down the win now route, the win now managers, Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte. We then appointed Ange. We won a trophy with Ange, and then we sacked Ange after winning the trophy. Where are you right now as a Spurs fan? How are you feeling? Because everyone I speak to at the moment, everyone seems pretty down. I know a lot of positive people, and I'm going to mention him, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning this. Ricky Norwood is one of the most positive people I know in my life, Spurs fans as well. And Ricky is having a day off from the podcast later after the game because he just wants a little bit of time out. And I'll tell you what, I think a lot of people feel like this at the moment. The ambition needs to be so much better. But Alex Crook believes that the club are still for sale, despite them saying on a number of occasions, the club is not for sale. We want to be ambitious. We want to be winning more trophies, and we want to be fighting on all fronts. What's your thoughts on everything I've mentioned?
Yeah, there's a lot to go through there, but in a nutshell, firstly, Gary Lineker was spot on in what he said in his tweet. Absolutely spot on, and it's still true. What's that? 7 years, well, coming up to 6.5 years ago. You're right about Ricky. Ricky's one of those people. We have the privilege of knowing him, and he could be having a bad day, but if you're having a bad day yourself and you ring him up, he will make you feel better, won't he? He's just that type of person. He's as genuinely nice in real life as he is on the screen. He's one of the nicest people you could meet, and he will always try and make you feel better. But even Ricky, over the last few months, you've seen cracks appear. I swear I've seen more grey hairs appear on his head. I swear I've lost more hair, and I didn't have much to begin with. And that is what this club does to you, isn't it? It everybody you speak to, we all know Spurs fans. wherever you are, whether you're at work, whether you're going to the stadium, wherever it is. And I haven't met one that's positive. I haven't really met one that's like joyful. But why should you be with everything that's going on? So it's incredibly tough to be a Spurs fan at the moment. And as you say, Ricky needs a day off from the podcast. I've said to you, me and you, one of us always has to be here and do it, through thick and thin. But it gets to a point where you just need a little break from it sometimes, isn't it? And I get that totally. And
Craig's having a break from it today as well.
I bet we win now. It'll be a 5-0 win. You watch. But going back to your thing about the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust statement, the key paragraph for me, I'm not going to read all of it, but there also appears to be a dramatic fall in ambition for the football club, as evidenced by the transfer window to date and repeated statements by Thomas Frank reminding the supporters that the club finished 17th in the Premier League last season, that the club is only participated in the Champions League through winning the Europa League, and that Bournemouth, a side without a win in 11 games, are always a difficult team, and that he is not enjoying the job, as you said. So it's basically rinse and repeat for me with the board, the club statements. We promised we'd hear more from Vinay Venkatesham and Johan Langer, not necessarily Langer because he tends to work in the shadows, but certainly Vinay. We haven't really heard much at all. The Fan Advisory Board and the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust need to get more into it and ask difficult questions of this board. And eventually, hopefully, something will change. But I can't see it, if I'm brutally honest. And ultimately, do I think the club is for sale in the background? Yes, I do. I do think the club is for sale, no matter what Enoch said and what anybody said. I've said this since the summer. They had 3 bids, I think it was, and Daniel Levy had already gone by that stage, I think. So, and they turned them all down. I've still maintained somebody offers the right amount of money, this club will be sold, and perhaps that would be the best thing for everybody if that did happen.
Craig, realistically, what could a board member, Vinay or Fabio or Johan, what could they come out during a January transfer window? What could they come out and say that you as a fan would be happy with?
I suppose it's difficult in a way because they would probably, if it was me, I'd come out to the fans and say, look, we are going to be buying quality talent this window regardless. And then you have to fall on your sword if for some reason you can't get those signings through the door. I guess that's what it is. All that the fans want to hear is, and they want to see, is ambition, showing intent, going out there, bidding for players that make you think, wow, they really do mean business, and really go for it. But you've got to change everything. You've got to change the way you go about your business in buying the players you target. You've got to smash your wage ceiling. If you want to keep players like Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero at this football club, you've got to show that ambition. Saying, for example, Spurs went in for, and I'm just going to pull a name out of anywhere here, Jeremy Doku, right? I think Jeremy Doku is a fabulous player. You go and throw a load of money. I'm not saying you get him. I'm just using Doku as an example. At least the fans can say, God, that's serious intent. Do you know what I mean? There's players all around Europe I'm sure we could go for. We don't seem to be going for these players. Any player that we've linked, and we've been through all the rumours this morning, and there's nothing really. So if they're operating in the background like we know Langer does, and something's going to come out of the blue like the Odebear deal did, great. We want information now, don't we, as fans, and especially in today's day and age, we want information, more information right now, as quickly as possible. We want everything done quickly. Langer doesn't work like that. But if come 31st of January, there's still nothing through the door, this club is going to be even more toxic. So they need to show intent. I think a message from Vinay Venkatesham would be good, whether it's a video on YouTube or the club website, just to tell fans that they mean what they say. And ultimately, I think if we don't do business in this transfer window, or all we see is players going out, there's going to be the fans are going to be absolutely enraged by that. So it's a big month for Tottenham and a big month for this board.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, Johan Langer certainly works under the radar, but Fabio, of course, co-sporting director, definitely works with quite substantial lists of players that he is targeting at any one time. What's your gut feeling, Craig, on this transfer window? Because as we mentioned at the very start, Sousa is a done deal. Here we go from Fabrizio Romano. He's going to have his medical in the next 24 hours or so. What's your gut feeling on this window in terms of bringing in real quality that are going to make an impact for Thomas Frank going forward? Because he looks very, very stressed at the moment, Thomas Frank, and he needs results. And he seems to be very confident that, this is just a tough period and he is going to turn it around. And he actually said in the embargoed press conference that I'm not here to finish 14th. I'm not here to finish 10th. He even mentioned 6th, 5th, 2nd. He didn't say first, but but he certainly said he didn't want to, he's not come to Spurs to finish 14th. So clearly, I don't think there's any doubt about it. No matter what people feel about Thomas Frank and the style of play, etc., the guy wants to do well at Tottenham. And he needs players in, and everyone agrees with that. The fan base may be very mixed on a lot of opinions and things, but everyone wants to see success, and definitely the manager wants to see success.
100%. And yeah, whether you're Frank in, Frank out, Franked out, whatever it is quite clear to everybody that we need players through the door. We've got an injury crisis again that seems to come season after season. So perhaps, what is that? Are we just bad luck? Can you have that much bad luck? It's just incredible. But yeah, he needs help this transfer window, definitely. As I say, whether you're Frank out, like his football, don't like his football, I personally don't like the football we're seeing at the moment. Is that because we haven't got the players to play the way he wants to play? I'm not so sure. I just think it's a big 2 or 3 weeks for Thomas Frank, and if the board don't do something, that's basically throwing him under the bus, isn't it? So I think that there's going to be, like I say, the fans are not going to be happy if things aren't going to be done this transfer window. If you're asking me my opinion, do I think we're going to do big business? Sadly, no. I don't. History tells you that unless they've changed dramatically, and there's no evidence to suggest they have, I don't think we're going to be bringing in anybody of note, but I really hope I'm wrong.
When Thomas Frank was asked in the embargoed press conference about should people like Vinay Venkatesham front the media instead of Thomas Frank, Frank actually said it's fine. We are all aligned behind the scenes. He also said about the pressure that Thomas Frank and the players are under, and Thomas Frank actually replied and said, I'd like to see guys on social media, or you guys, meaning the journalists, experience that pressure. He's had a dig, a couple of times now about, social media experts was another phrase that he used a couple of weeks ago. Talking about Mohamed Kudus, Frank said that I can't see why not he wouldn't make the World Cup. He's actually said that he will be back in March. The FA Cup, he said it's the biggest competition, and he wants to win the game against Aston Villa. We will do everything we can to win that game, and he wants to win the tournament. Talking about the board and the communication with the board, he said we text. It's Johan, Fabio and Vinay who run the business. And lastly, he said about the season, the results and league position, he said we need to be judged at the end of the season. And of course, Craig, I think it's very fair to say, regardless of what we think and feel right now and how everyone else going on about the January transfer window, I think the club needs to be judged at the very end of the window, which of course ends on the 2nd of Feb at 7 p.m. But we all are hopeful and praying that we do get players through the door because, we've still got the FA Cup to play for, the Champions League and a decent Premier League finish. And I will always say this, at the moment, 6 points away from 5th spot, which could be a Champions League spot. And we are 6 points above 17th, of course, where we finished last season under Ange Postecoglou. So this second part of the season is absolutely vital. And in my opinion, it is imperative that we strengthen this squad for the manager going forward. Craig, have a great weekend. Thanks so much for joining me. Enjoy the game later. Where can people find you?
Yeah, at DMN9 on X. If you want to give me a follow, that'd be great. Let's pray for a win later today. It'd really improve everybody's weekend for once, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the FA Cup, by the way, and I just think it's absolutely crazy that we won it for a record 8th time in 1991, haven't won it since. I'd love to see us win the FA Cup in the near future. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Remember that all of these editions are also available on all all audio platforms. I tell you, I need to wake up this morning. Enjoy the game. Have a great weekend. Come on, you Spurs.